Great. Welcome, everyone. We have a few others joining us. I will, Taylor, why don't you kind of set the room up while I just get Jags and yay, we have Max. And then I'll kick off introductions.
Sounds good. So for everyone who's joining us for the first time, we are a room that meets Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Pacific time, and we talk about everything pertaining to angels and VCs in regard to fundraising. So it's a fantastic place to get lots of insight and information. Every day, we have a wonderful panel of investors and VCs that talk about their philosophies with investing. And then we open the room up to questions and take questions from the audience. And they get to ask questions specifically about their current business ventures and what's going on with their business. So that's a little bit about what we do. So raise your hands and raise them early to have a chance to be on the stage. And if you don't get called up, no problem, just return tomorrow. And for those who have really who are really liking this conversation, you should check out Angel's bio because there's a link for Angel Club. And that's a place for investors and founders to meet and to continue these wonderful conversations. And in fact, I believe Angel will probably introduce that we won't be here Thursday because we're going to be having a separate forum for the people who are in Angel Club to talk with a branding expert all about how to brand your business. So Angel.
Great, thanks. Yeah, so welcome everyone. Yeah, as Taylor says, we're here Monday to Friday at noon. Thursday, we are going to have our day off because we're going to be concentrated on personal branding for entrepreneurs and investors and also branding for your startups. That will be in Angel Club, as Taylor said. So just for the people who are new to Clubhouse or are new to this room, as Taylor mentioned, this is really a Q&A. So it's not a pitch room, but you can feel free to give us information about where you're at in your fundraising process, a little bit about your company so that we can get a better understanding of where you're at as a business to be more specific in our feedback to you. But really, this isn't to kind of come up and pitch to investors. We are here to give you all the information that we can and the advice that we can so that you can go rock your pitches. Okay, so if you're preparing for fundraising, if you're in the midst of fundraising and you're negotiating term sheets, if you're still trying to figure out, which investors to approach and how, we can run the gamut from a fundraising standpoint and also from the types of fundraising. So, what I mean by that is depending on your stage, you might be considering a number of different fundraising methods. So you might be looking at, for example, grants, equity-free, financing. You might be looking at crowdfunding. You might be looking at early stage angel investors and or getting ready to, make your first VC pitches. Or you might already be in progress with those, but you're coming up with feedback or pushback or questions and you want some advice as to how to optimally position yourself and your business for those conversations. So any question is a safe question in here. You can feel free to share some context about your business. If you are someone in the audience and you kind of come up to the stage, please do have a question. If you have something to contribute to somebody else who's asked a question, please look at their profile and connect with them. And I'm sure that if you've got something of value, they would love to hear from you. So please just look at their profile and connect with them because we want to get through as many questions as possible. And one of the things that we usually say in here is that, please, if you're not sure how a question is going to land, just ask it anyway, because a lot of times we don't know what we don't know. And so we get answers to questions that we didn't know that we had by listening to others' questions. So please feel free to ask any question. If we can't answer it, if we don't feel like we've got either a strong point of view or we don't have experience, then we will definitely point you in the right direction of other resources or individuals who will answer your questions or who are likely to at least give you some indication as to next best steps to get your questions answered. So with that being said, we are going to kick off with some brief introductions. We're going to keep them as brief as possible because you have the opportunity to look at the profiles of the moderators now. And I also encourage you to look at the profiles of the people that are around you. You might find your next co-founder, your next team member, your next investor in the audience as well. So please look around the room at the profiles, and please follow any of the moderators or all of the moderators if you want to be alerted to other similar rooms that we're setting up. And I'm also, just FYI, going to do a special session on co-founder matching. And so I'll give you some more details around that probably tomorrow, and I'll tweet about that as well. So, so if you haven't yet found a co-founder and you're looking for one or you're considering one, then we've got a session coming up soon on that. So again, I'll share that later. So Paulina, welcome back today. And can you please share your sector, your stage, your geography, and your average check size in terms of your investments, please? We can't hear you, Paulina.
Is it dog walking time?
Yeah. Okay, we'll move to Shauna. Shauna, can you give your very unique perspective and background for the audience today? Shauna, we can't hear you either.
I think Clubhouse is glitching today.
Yeah, it must be. Well, this could be a very short session or put a lot of pressure on the rest of us. Max, can you please introduce yourself? Okay. Taylor and Marco, can you guys hear Max, Paulina, or Shauna?
No, I cannot. I haven't heard them any of this time. Well, it looks like it's Angel, Marco, and Volker for the win.
That's okay. I'm prepared. Shauna,
can you hear me?
Yay! Yeah. Okay. Hey, Shauna.
Yeah. So Paulina, Max, if you can hear us, come out and come back in again.
I had to close the app and open it up again.
Okay, Paulina, if you heard that, if you want to close the app and come back in, and maybe it'll be working. It's glitching up again today.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you, Max.
Oh,
Great.
Yay.
Can
okay,
you hear
I'm
me
back.
too?
Yes, yay.
I'm back. I'm alive. Yay.
Okay. Volker, can we hear you? No. All right. Do you mind closing down the app and coming back in? And I think we'll be able to hear you then. Okay, Shauna, can you please give your brief intro?
Yeah, hey everybody. This is I love this room. I'm always super excited. I know we've been doing this for a couple of weeks now. I'm in a couple other Clubhouse rooms, and I just really appreciate all the advice in this room. So I just wanted to start out by saying that. And I know I invited a few founders today, and it looks like there's a handful that came who were asking for feedback. So it's great to see everybody. I'm a former partner at Madrona Venture Labs, part of Madrona Venture Group, and they're one of the biggest venture firms in the Northwest out of Seattle, and one of the first investors in Amazon. And I actually spun out last year and started a startup called Weekdays, and we have a tech platform that helps educators and childcare providers start their own neighborhood-based micro schools. So I've been focused on that for the last year, and next month I'm just setting up for my fundraise right now. So I'm going through, I was kind of on one side of the table and now on the other side of the table, and it's been really interesting kind of having one foot in both sides. And so I'm going through a lot of the same things that some of the questions that come up. So it's great to hear and also learn from everyone too.
Thank you, Shauna. So as some of you have heard me say before, Shauna has got the most edge in the room, having the VC background going into fundraising as a founder. So, if you can work that into your fundraising strategy, highly recommended. But not too often do you come across it. We should develop that as one of the strategies, Shauna.
Yeah.
Max, can you please share your incredible story with us, please?
You can hear me now, though, right?
Yep, you're
Okay,
good.
perfect. So, hey everyone, I'm Max. I'm the one of the founder perspectives on the panel. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Caribou. I've raised $5 million from pitch competitions, angels, family offices, equity crowdfunding, corporate, and VC. And my last round was led by a Latina and was comprised only of women and Black male investors. And I'm the first Latinx CEO, male or female, to raise $1 million in equity crowdfunding. And I now run the Equity Crowdfunding Club here on Clubhouse. So if you're a founder who's looking for alternative sources of capital, you should follow us by clicking on the light bulb icon in my profile. Thanks for having me, Angel.
Absolutely. And Kartik, it's great to see you.
Yeah, everyone here as well.
And can you give sector size, or sorry, stage, check size, geography?
Sure. Yeah, I focus in the US. Sector is pretty open, but I like to focus on software, and my check size is pretty obvious, 25K checks, and you can pitch me at 25kchecks.com.
I love that. That's like, it says what it is on the tin, right? It's so clear. I love it.
Yeah, I like to get to the point.
Right? Paulina, can you please give us your sector, stage, geography, and check size?
Hi, I'm Paulina from London. My stage is seed. My check size is 5 to 50k sterling. I invest in software platforms and occasionally in hardware. I invest mostly in the UK. And I also have a grant funding consultancy in the UK called Grant Tree. So may be able to answer some public funding related questions. Thanks.
Great. So far you've got VC, founder, crowdfunding, and angels, 25K checks on average. And Marco is representing a unique perspective. Marco, can you please tell us about your sector, stage, geography, check size, and maybe share a little bit about family offices versus other sources of funding?
Okay, cool. So yes, so I operate a family office investment fund. So in effect, in layman terms, I manage money from a high net worth family. And in this instance, it's Hong Kong Chinese family that I work with, and I have for many years. And there are other variations of family offices, so you could have multiple families in one office, but I just represent one family office, and it's about building businesses and the wealth of that family and its representative companies. So we invest all over the world, but we do have a preference for what's known as the Belt and Road Initiative, or One Belt, One Road. And that consists of about 140 countries. So we do like to invest in EdTech, Internet of Things, future of work, VR, AR, which is my particular passion, blockchain, so the newer sort of SaaS type tech, if you like. There are other opportunities we look at, but there are sort of core competencies, if you like, and we like to take our investments into China, or in China and out of China.
Thank you. Volker, welcome.
Do I have now sound?
Yes, we can hear you. We were just I was gonna do a voiceover for you.
Oh, there you
but
go.
But I'm glad you can do it.
Social audio without audio doesn't work so well, does it?
No.
Okay, so I'm Volker. I'm a partner at Amadeus Capital, which is an early stage fund based in London and Cambridge. We're known to be a what now people call a deep tech investor. So AI ML, human-machine interfaces, autonomous systems, cybersecurity, computational biotech, quantum computing, novel materials, all that sort of stuff. The firm is pretty old, it's 23 years old, co-founded by Herman Hauser, whom some of you may know as one of the founders of ARM. What else? We invested seed in checks usually between £500,000 and £2 million, and then we reserve 5 or 6 million to go on our geographical focus in line with what most early stage investors will do. In other words, invest closer to home. So we will look at the UK a lot. We do invest in Europe as well. We've done out of a current fund, done investments in Valencia, in Paris, also one in New York and one in Vancouver. So predominantly UK, but if it's exceptional, then elsewhere as well. Thank you.
Great, thanks. And I think we got everyone. So for me, I am a serial entrepreneur in the US, UK, and Latin America. I've been a founder, a part of the founding team of games startups, social media, smart mobility, and a couple of others. And that's through those bigger exits, I, put myself in a position where I was able to start angel investing 15 years ago. But you'll probably learn a lot more through some of the things that didn't work or some of the failures. So I'm happy to share both insights from those successes and also from those failures. In terms of angel investing, I'm starting to call it culture tech because it spans a couple of different sectors. So digital entertainment, wellness, both tech and cannabis and psychedelics, smart mobility and clean tech. And then really there's kind of a 30% where I reserve it just for teams that I absolutely fall in love with, where I think that there's a great market opportunity that might not fit kind of neatly in there. But 70% of the rest are those sectors that I covered. Average check size is 50K. I'll go up to 100K. I invest directly. I also invest via syndicates such as FJ Labs, What If, the Syndicate, and other syndicates and SPVs. And predominantly in the US, but also in the UK and some in LATAM. So I think we are getting ready here to just kick off the Q&A. Also, sorry, on the CVC front, I at Viacom also manage investments. So I can answer CVC related questions. And as part of the Venture Studio pre-hype, we're going through our first SPAC with Bark. And can answer questions related to CVC from that front as well. So I think we are ready, Taylor.
And Taylor, I don't know if you're seeing an issue with the hand raising as well, but a lot of people who had their hand raised before the glitch are lost. So if you can, if anyone in the audience, if you had your hand raised before, you still want to come up here, we might not be able to. Oh, perfect. Okay, I'm seeing it populate. So raise your hand because we may not be able to see you. Thanks.
Thanks, Max. I noticed that as well. Thank you. So we are, again, talking about all things fundraising and angel investing. And now since we've heard from the VCs and angels, we're opening it up for questions. And it looks like, Fida, you are up next. What's your question for the angels?
It's actually, I would like to introduce myself and just give you a brief about the type of funding that I'm working on. I'm a partner in Amam Ventures, which is an impact gender lens fund. The geography is the Middle East. We invest in SMEs that are committed to diversity and inclusion and that have identified a growth opportunity, and we couple funding with business development supports. Our ticket sizes are between 250K up to 2 million, and we use mezzanine financing, specifically revenue capital. So I just wanted to put that out there, just in case anyone's interested in talking about it as well. Thank you.
Great, and I appreciate that. And is it FIDA or FIDA?
It's FIDA.
FIDA. Okay, great.
Yep.
And so impact investing, please check out FIDA's profile. And yeah, just so you know as well, Fida, I don't know if you've been in this room before, but one of the reasons we started the room is really to give increased visibility and accessibility for female and other underrepresented founders, so diverse founders, whether that's neurodiversity, age, geography, race, gender, you name it. We wanted to give just more visibility, more accessibility to angel investors and to VCs. But I also wanted to give more platform opportunities to female investors, so that people know that we exist, and also hopefully encourage other people to get into early stage investing who have the means to do so. So for the people who have the kind of liquidity and have the appetite for risk, if they haven't done any kind of early stage, primarily tech, but if they haven't done early stage investing, it can be daunting. So so we're also happy to help out early stage investors in this room. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Okay, so Christian, do you have a question for the investors?
Yes, I do. Thanks for having me up here, guys. I'm in the travel industry, which has had a bit of an interesting year. So I've been running hop on, hop off buses in San Francisco, which many of you will recognize. But from that, I've built a SaaS startup in the travel industry. It's a platform to manage content for tours and activities companies. So I've been in the industry about 20 years. So I'm quite well connected in the specific travel industry. We did a seed round almost 2 years ago of 300,000. We're now going out to do I guess we did a pre-seed. Now we're looking at a seed, and I'm just trying to work out. I feel like half the people telling me stay away from. Maybe this is a common question, but half the people tell me to stay away from VCs because and then the other half tell me, you need to get into that proper sort of professional networks. So I'm just trying to find out if I should stay within my network I already have with sort of friendly investors that I already know and already connected, or is it a good time to start getting into that professional investing networks just for the sake of it as I start to look at Series A and hopefully beyond? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you said you're planning to raise how much?
500,000 in this round on a safe note.
Okay. Volker, do you want to take that one?
Sure. The question institutional or not?
Since you're the devil here, right?
Yeah. Well, I've been a founder before, and I'm an angel as well. So don't kick me just yet. So Christian, I think the first question to consider is how much money are you going to need longer term? If that is something that is quite finite, an amount, then perhaps you just want to stay with people you know and people you trust, etc. If you need a little bit more, then it's quite likely, unless you have very rich friends, that you might need additional capital. And this is where VCs can be helpful, because they tend to have deeper pockets, but also they know other VCs with even deeper pockets who tend to follow them. That is one thing. The, in inverted commas, downside is, a VC's fund cycle is 10 years. And that means after 10 years, a VC will get nervous and will politely knock on your door and say, dude, what's up with an exit? And you may have more time with just private investors. So these are maybe guiding questions for you. I hope that helps.
Yeah, that's great. So would you suggest getting in or looking into a seed/angel investor now just to start building the relationship for the Series A?
Exactly.
Yeah. Actually, I think I spoke to a partner of yours a few weeks ago. Andrea, I think it was in the UK.
Andrea Treverson. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I've been listening to. It's just start the relationships now, and then when you when we've done that million ARR, then we'll be ready for the Series A investors.
Yeah. Exactly. And, I mean, additionally, it's not only to, start building these warm relationships with people you then know, but it's also the average length of a venture startup investment is longer than the average length of a marriage. And you want to make sure that that you're working with the right people.
Right.
Hey,
Well, that's great feedback. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'd love to just add, and actually love your feedback too, Angel, and some of the other investors in the room. This is funny because I just came from a room that the title was, "Do we really need angel investors?" So the devil in that room was a different type of investor. But I think in a variety of times we've been in this room together, we've talked about if you can bootstrap your in the beginning, that's often a good way to go from the founder perspective, to the extent that you can build something that's pitchable, and to the extent that when you're taking on fundraising, that fundraising is meant to get you to that next place, to level up your business, and is strategic in nature, and that it should be the right kind of investor, because that investor is coming into your business, is going to be in the business for likely for quite some time. And so I was wondering if, just for the sake of the audience, if any of you want to discuss a little bit further some of those timing considerations and strategic considerations about when it does make sense to either bring in an angel investor or a larger perhaps VC round.
Yeah, I think, what I would say, and I only caught a little bit about your company and where you're at in terms of financing so far, but you addressed in Volker's response one of the key things that we talk about in this room, which is, start developing those relationships both with angels and with VCs well ahead of any kind of formal fundraising that you're going to do. Because the warmer the relationship can be before you're actually asking for people to write checks, the more receptive that they're likely to be, because they will know you, they will have heard a bit about your journey in terms of where you've got to, which milestones you've hit. They'll likely, if they've got to know you a bit over time, they'll likely also be advocates and or helpful resources to you as you grow your business well before your fundraising. So I think it's always a good idea to build those relationships. And also, to Hillary's point, a lot of times getting that fit just right isn't just about, what we said during our kind of, intro. Those are the basics. The intro, when we said, what sector do you invest in? What stage do you invest in? Which geography do you invest in? The key kind of essentials, it's about what teams do you invest in, right? And once you become an investor in a startup, you become part of the team. So as a founder, when you're looking to have those conversations, for the first time, it's, everyone has a little bit of stranger danger when they're first getting to know somebody, especially when you're talking about, big sums of money, or any money at all, to be frank. So, so the whatever you can do to minimize or eliminate that stranger danger or elevate the level of trust and respect, the better. But when you are looking to add team members, you're not just looking for, do they have that kind of, do they check all those boxes? Just as if you're hiring, staff, you're looking for, can they do that job in a very functional way? Can they, deliver, but, can they execute? But you're also looking for, like, are these people that I want to spend a lot of time with? Do I like their attitude? Can I get on with them? When things get really, really tough, is this somebody that's going to stick it out with me? And that's critical. That's, I think, something that you're going to want to look for in investors. And you're not going to know that through one or two meetings. And sometimes you just have to close a deal. You've got to get capital in to extend your runway. But as much as you can right now, I think it sounds like you still have a decent amount of runway. I suggest you have at least 6 months runway. So if you can do friends and family and or self finance, then then go for it, because as little equity as you have to give away, the better. But that whole time, I would definitely encourage you to build up those relationships. And a lot of times, what I've done as a founder and also what I get as an investor are, the cadence can vary, but are regular updates from the founder. So they'll say like, look, this is where we're trying to get to. We could use some help in these areas, such as introductions to these kinds of companies, or we're recruiting, developers or designers or whatever. And this is the progress that we've made, so far. I love getting those updates, even when it's not a business that I've already invested in, because it allows me to track their progress and to see that there's momentum, to see that they're gaining traction, to help where I can. But it also tells me that, like, when they do come to me, I'm already at least aware of, how they operate. And so that de-risks the investment from my perspective. Once I've already got some kind of rhythm with that person, even if it's not frequent, then it just de-risks it. That knowing factor de-risks, the investment. But from a founder standpoint, you want to get all those, what are typically called softer factors, right, when actually some of those softer factors can be absolutely critical to the success of that, that relationship, and also closing that round. So I don't know if Shauna or Paulina, if you've got anything to add there.
The only thing I'd add, I thought those were all really good points that were top of mind for me too. The only thing I'd add is just like sort of a reminder for all of us that fundraising really does take time, and it takes you away from the business. And so as much, if it's sacrificing time that you could be spending on the business to move it forward, you're spending on the then just, kind of keep that top of mind. One thing that, to your point, Angel, on I think regular updates, like monthly updates. One thing that I've been doing is I've been having one meeting a week, and then adding that person to my regular updates on the business, so I can kind of keep in touch with them in an easy, lightweight way. But it's just hard to do both. It's hard to set up for the A and build the business.
Yeah, I agree. And even when you're in full on fundraising mode, then it's even harder. So if you've got a co-founder and or team members that you can really, lean on, if you're the person who's doing the fundraising, the better. But you do have to really, communicate roles, responsibilities during that time, because Shauna's absolutely right. It becomes a full-time job. I've had situations, both as a founder and even as an investor, where it's, that is the full-time job. And, you can check in, with the team, and, you can do a daily stand-up or whatever, but you're not really engaging much beyond that. And sometimes fundraising, can take a few months. And so that's a few months out of the business. So, so you do have to, be cautious about how you manage that time. But I do think that if you're getting to know investors along the way before you're going for that A, it does shorten oftentimes the time frame between the first kind of, formal pitch to the yes, if they already have familiarity with you and your business. So if you invest a little bit of time well before you need it, it can shorten the amount of time when you do need it.
Yeah, I think that's super helpful, Angel. I think what you're saying couldn't be more true, just from having seen these relationships play out, right? Between founders and or the companies, clients of mine that I've had, and the investors. And I think having starting that relationship and fostering a real relationship allows the investment to happen more organically, and allows you to find the right fit for raising money, and to generate that trust that you're discussing. It's funny too, because I never forget what Paulina said, and I've repeated it. Paulina, sorry, I've stolen your line a couple times, and one of your lines was, if you ask for advice, you might get financing. If you ask for financing, you might get advice. So, it is sort of that I think is part of that relationship too. You know, when I think about it, it's kind of like if you're doing well and you're showing consistency, and you're providing these updates and you're fostering a relationship in a meaningful way, that's instilling trust. As you ask for advice, you may end up getting financing. So I was reminded of your quote, Paulina.
Yeah, and I would also add, Christian, if you're giving those updates to, what I would call prospective investors, or stakeholders, sometimes they'll start asking you, like I just had a call this morning with another co-investor who's normally in this room, but she's on another investor call. And we were both getting the same updates because we had shared the deal with each other. And one of the, like, we got the last two updates, and I reached out to her and I was like, I think we need to get in there now. And so they weren't even formally raising it. They hadn't started their raise, but because of the last two updates that we got, I just thought, okay, we need to encourage the raise now. We need to get in there now. So sometimes it can really work to your advantage if you're gaining that momentum, that that you might not even have to do the formal pitch, because you're doing so well that investors start saying, hey, are you ready? When's the raise coming? What's the status? So hopefully that helps.
And can I just throw a little Miami in here? So just want to make sure that everyone knows that Paulina has been quoted by Pitbull, and Pitbull's version of her advice, her kind of thing is ask for money, get advice, ask for advice, get money twice, which I think is a good upgrade.
Cool.
A good Miami
famous
upgrade.
Paulina, you are famous.
And I think tomorrow we need to wrap all of our feedback and advice. The Q&A will be wrapped.
Angel, we're going to start with you on that one. You'll be the first rapper.
Okay, I'm from Detroit and I got a Childish Gambino hoodie on, but I don't think I can throw down that way, but I'll do my best.
It's good to see that Clubhouse's second most popular Italian has been able to clear his schedule. Welcome, Roberto.
Yes, thank you, Roberto. You're here. Can you please give a brief intro?
Guys, thanks a lot. And I always like to be second. I always think there is a problem with be first. So I'm super happy, Marco, to come.
I love it.
And I am okay with term 2, by the way. And look, I think I've been knowing many of the people in the room for a few years, and I'm an early stage investor based in London, and tended to invest in consumer internet, SaaS, and marketplaces. That's really what we do. I do have an opinion on the topic. It was you guys were discussing a bit coming from a completely different perspective, and sometimes also drawing to completely different conclusions. Because as always, right, in life, it's about balance, and there is always a possibility to look things on the other side. In my life, I learned that often some investors, many investors, are extremely demotivated by FOMO, fear of missing out. And over communication somehow, sometimes, make them feel uncomfortable because they feel that, okay, I know what is happening in that company, so actually I don't need to make a move because I know what is happening. So I think the right balance between, yes, build that relationship, but don't build too much, not to share too much, but tease enough so that you can actually get asked the questions instead of over communicating. I think is always an interesting balance that I always recommend to entrepreneurs.
I love that. It's the art of the seduction. And of course,
be Italian.
Exactly. Exactamente.
And by the way, I think on that front, we early stage investors, we are in reach invested between 500K and 2 million. So we are really early stage investors. Most of the people here, I've got a lot that we can do to help the entrepreneurs, because we can be the cupido in this relationship, right? In which of, hey, by the way, I saw yesterday that, I am on the board of this company and this is going particularly well, and be able to inject that level of intellectual curiosity into the next stage investor, I think is a little bit also the job that we need to do.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and I think, some of us have said in this room that, we like having all these different perspectives. Shauna usually mentions it because I think, to the extent that we can all level up our game, both on the investor side and on the founder side, the better quality comes out the other side. So yeah, I agree. And Taylor, so you can design some of your matchmaking and some of your dating advice around how to cultivate the relationships with the investors in the room.
I love it. It's so similar. So very similar. I've been thinking about that. Yeah. So just to reset the room for a minute, for those who are just joining us, welcome. And you are in a room all about, as you can probably ascertain by now, fundraising. And our moderators are angel investors and VCs. And all questions pertaining to fundraising are welcome in this forum. And we invite you here Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Pacific time. And if you like this conversation and the depth of the conversation, but wanted to go a little bit deeper, then you should check out Angel's bio. She's got a program called Angels Club, where investors and founders have these conversations, but with a lot more depth. And in fact, we're going to be taking a break from this wonderful room on Thursday to meet in that space to talk about branding. So if that's interesting to you, check that out. And in the meantime, I'd like to just invite everyone to follow the moderators with the green badge at this time. And you can be notified the next time they're doing something in one of the rooms, because these are very, very valuable conversations. And so I will let Jonathan come to the stage. And Jonathan, welcome, and let us know what your question is for the Angels.
Thank you so much, Taylor, and thank you to all the moderators for the space. So my name is Jonathan. I'm a hedge fund founder. We launched last month, and things are going really, really well. We're up 3.56%. So I'm really excited about our progress. And so I guess my question is, so how best do I position, aside from, of course, returning great returns to our investors, how best should I position my hedge fund so that angels and VCs look upon my hedge fund favorably? And so kind of give you some background. So I'm into the fintech, but also the impact space, because as you know, the SEC segregates everyone into two different categories, accredited, non-accredited. And most times hedge funds look over non-accredited investors, which is the vast majority of our country, really the world. And so my whole purpose is to make sure that my hedge fund is accessible. So I do that by, of course, not having a minimum investment. Number two, opening up to non-accredited investors. And then number three, having a 10% hurdle rate. And so going back to my question, how do I position that so that, hedge funds and, well, not hedge funds, but angel investors and VCs view my hedge fund publicly and favorably, but also two, where's the best place? Because I understand that, some VCs, some angels have their different, their categories that they like to invest in. So if where should I pitch this to fintech angels and fintech and also impact investors as well? Thank you.
Sure, I've got some thoughts on that, but Volker and Roberto, do you want to weigh in on how best to position the hedge fund for attracting the right investors?
Yeah, so from a hedge fund would usually be uninvestable for most VCs, simply because of the LP arrangement we have. It would be probably termed a fund of fund investments, which most VCs are not allowed to do. So that's something to be borne in mind.
Yeah, I just want to echo what Volker said. I think we might need to make a distinction between investing in the hedge fund and investing in the, let me call it, the ownership of the hedge fund. So if you wish, the LP or the GP of the hedge fund, right? I've seen in some cases angel investors and then high net worth individuals, obviously seeding, if you wish, the hedge fund through equity injections. But so I've seen that. I've never seen a venture firm for the reasons that Volker explained, that we will end up into a problem with LP because we will pay management fees twice, and there is also a problem associated with that. And therefore, I think the question is more about who seeds hedge fund. And my recommendation to you is just spend the time in looking at similar hedge funds to you and try to figure out when they started, who were the people to seed them. But a very simple category is actually successful hedge fund people, i.e. executives, often seed other hedge funds. So that is something that you may want to look into it. And I will look into getting a sample of hedge funds that are similar in terms of the ethos to the type of hedge fund that you want to do, because you have a higher level of probability to convert.
Yeah, it's very, 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 very good recommendation. I was just reminded of a book I recently read, which was fantastic. It's a biography, effectively, of Jim Simons and Renaissance Tech. It's called The Man Who Solved the Market. Now, this is, of course, more about quantitative hedge funds, etc., but maybe interesting nonetheless. And then what Roberto said, I think that's generally a good idea. To get an idea of who the people are that you might want to find. It is always a good way of shortcutting that is to see, who are the people who invested in your peers. Now they of course are not the people who would also then invest in you, but the persona of those people might be identical or similar.
Yeah, and so I would say, just adding on those comments, I am not involved, nor have I ever been involved in a hedge fund, so I can't speak directly to that. And I think you got some good resources there and responses as to why VCs aren't in hedge funds. But from an investor standpoint, if you're looking for fintech or impact investors, there are lots of lists out there. I've got a pretty extensive one. It's a database that indicates on the angel investor side and also on early stage venture side. But in terms of the angels, it's all around some of those things that we just mentioned in terms of sector. So it would be fintech, stage, at least the ones that I cover are through Series A. Some of them reserve for Series B and beyond, but they're focused on the early stage investments. And then some of the other factors we mentioned in terms of geography, et cetera. So there are lots of lists out there, and I'd be happy to help you out in terms of identifying early stage angel investors in fintech and early stage angel investors in impact. And a lot of the moderators up here are active on Twitter, and so I share a lot of those lists publicly as well. But in terms of how you really start to attract them, I love Volker's advice in terms of looking at who invested in your competitors and then developing a persona and cohorts of investors around that particular persona. And what I would also say is that the branding workshop that Taylor mentioned that we're having in Angel Club is really designed for exactly that. It's for entrepreneurs and for investors, so that investors start to attract other like investors. So, for example, for you, other fintech investors, other impact investors, but also deal flow around those particular that profile, that investment profile. So, personal branding comes down to like who you are and authentically like, how you want to show up. But it's also about how you communicate that in public forums so that you attract the kinds of things that you want, right? Whether that's, deal flow or other investors, whatnot. So, so I would look, in terms of all, this platform is a great platform. So you could, for example, start a room specifically around impact investing. You could reach out to other people who are doing any kind of impact investing. So I do it. Jagruti does it. Max is connected to a bunch of impact investors. I think Sean is as well. And so, so if you wanted to really position yourself, if you believe you're a thought leader in this space and you want to get a better network, then be of value, be of service to that community, and invite other people in. So you can host a room around a particular topic. This would be a topic that you would be able to share lots of insights on, that you would be able to provide a lot of value, and invite other people who you respect because you've been following them, or that that's even more preferable. Like some of these people I've known for 20 years that are up here with us. Then you can invite them in to co-host with you. So it's one way that you could at least use Clubhouse to start to build your network and also your thought leadership platform. So, communicating your brand and what's important to you and your hedge fund, in a way that, that provides value. But you can do that on other social platforms as well, right? So you could do that on LinkedIn, you could do that on Twitter, you could do that on YouTube. There's lots of whatever, do you feel better with visuals? Do you feel better writing? Do you feel better talking? Wherever you're going to show up best, and then just provide value and invite others to provide value. And then, you start to build community out of that. So, we had one of our guest moderators yesterday tweeted out that, when she was in here the other day, she made this amazing connection. And now, one of the companies that she invested in is now working with the founder that was in this room. Like that kind of serendipity happens naturally when you're gravitating towards, your purpose. So I would just say, like, really think about your communication strategy around fintech and around impact, and start inviting other people into that conversation, and just, provide value and find the medium that you feel really plays to your superpowers, that plays to your strengths. But you can also join us on Thursday where we're going to be going over these topics, and all the information is in my profile. Does that help?
Okay.
Gone.
Yeah, she's gone. She's moved back to the audience. So resetting the room for a minute, we're talking about all things angel investing. And as Angel just described, we are here Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Pacific time. But this Thursday, we're going to be doing something a bit different and having this discussion in another forum all about branding. If that's interesting to you and your startup or your team, you should check out Angel's bio and look for the Angel Club, which is the place where all of this is going to happen, where we've got investors and founders coming together in that space for more in-depth conversations. And this Thursday, again, it's all about branding. So take the time now to follow the moderators and click the light bulb button on their profiles to be notified the next time that they're speaking in a room, and be back here to join us tomorrow. And so we're going to be going over to Carissa. Welcome back.
Well, hello, everyone.
Hey there.
Hi.
I
always have a
friendly face.
question. I always have a question. So yeah, I just jump up here. You guys are a wealth of information, and I thoroughly enjoy this room. All right, I'm gonna get to it. I am, for those of you who don't know, I'm the founder of Frostbox, which is a cake decorating kit with no baking required. So we're DTC and consumer packaged goods, and we are just now about to start raising, or trying to raise, a pre-seed round. And so this is, I'm going to try to make it quick. So this is my question. What kind of sales how much do sales matter to you? What kind of sales are you looking for? And this is a question to those of you who are investors. So sorry, that is a motorcycle. Questions to those of you who are investors, and also to founders, and like the founders in the room, and what their experience has been. So what does traction mean to you, and how important are sales, and what are you looking for?
Max, you want to lend a hand on that one?
Yeah, sure. So I think at the pre-seed, so the trickiest part about the pre-seed, what I found from raising a pre-seed, is that I think investors all know that the numbers are not necessarily, I wouldn't call them made up, but the numbers are more guesses or hypotheses than they are, kind of like, okay, we've gotten to a place where this is a really stable conversion funnel or a really stable revenue stream that's going to just continue to go up and to the right. And so what I found at the pre-seed, you're really trying to show one metric, something that you figured out that no one else has figured out, one customer base that you think is kind of your earned secret, or a repeat buy, so that you can show, hey, the customers really love us, and look at, so maybe we haven't made as much in sales as I would like to, but I think when we grow this thing, given how many people repeat buy, that this could turn into something. So I think at the pre-seed, like really showing one magical traction metric. And again, I'm from the founder side. That's what I found to really move the needle with pre-seed investors.
Shauna, have you got pre-seed? And Paulina?
Traction. For me, traction is commercial traction, even though some people, when they say traction, they also mean subscribers or fans or something like that. But for me, it's business, ideally repeated business, so cash in the bank. It's all about making sure that you can close that loop and close a sale. And so with your business, I would be looking to reassure myself that there is kind of a significant customer base for what you're doing, and maybe even more people that are like really enthused about your brand. And that I would definitely be asking those questions if I was to consider investing in you.
And Kartik, when people come to you for 25K checks, are you getting pre-seed, and what do you look for?
Yeah, I mean, with a small dollar amount, I'll go in bigger deals, but most of them are pre-seed, some are seed. Basically, yeah, I'm echoing the first point. The numbers are like a small indication of the future state of the company. So I don't, over-index on them, and it's really on a case-by-case business. If I can, believe that this company can really 40x their business, which is just not a thing that. If there was a process to that, then we'd have algo traders, in pre-seed, and we don't because there isn't. So it's really on a case-by-case basis, which makes it hard. And then one statistical point I can point to is, DocSend did some research, and they said, like in the earliest stages, pre-seed and seed, that decks that focused on the product and then secondarily on the team, and then third was any kind of numbers, by a large majority raised follow-on funding versus decks that followed in the numbers. And then when you get to A and beyond, that completely flips, where all of the, everything I said is the reverse. So that's a pretty interesting metric to look at too when you're thinking about pre-seed.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Like even in the venture studio stuff that we do, which typically requires pre-seed just to kind of get to MVP. It's really about product and the team. I would also say the market size. So looking at the market size, even if you don't have traction at that stage, which pre-seed often doesn't. So yeah, I would agree with Kartik. Is that helpful?
Oh, that's
Hillary?
super helpful. Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry. Hillary, did you have anything to add?
I was just going to add, it's funny because you said exactly what I was thinking, Angel. Like I think the question is, what is your market? What's the market size? And if you don't have, obviously I agree that the projections, I would say 100% of forecasts and projections are 99% wrong. so, in that early stage. So, what's your market? What's the market size? And how are you showing, the portion of that market, as believable that you can capture it, right, to the investor? I liked what Paulina said too about sort of this repeat secret. I think that was Paulina, right? Being able to show that there is something distinguishable that allows you to take a good portion of a specific marketplace.
Yeah, and to Kartik's point, and also Paulina's point, when you are focusing in on the team and the product, you really have to make a convincing story about why this product, why now, and why are you the best team to be able to beat out any other competitor, in the marketplace. And competitors aren't always just direct competitors, sometimes they're massive corporations that could simply, add this on as a freebie sometimes. They don't even need to generate revenue from it. So when you're looking at really hammering home why this is a great product, and in a big potential market, why you're the best people to bring that to market and to beat out anybody else is really important. And sometimes you start to get into, building a brand and things like that when you start to get into that aspect of it. But yeah, I'd really hammer that home.
I agree. I think in a lot of the decks that I see with clients that I've had in the past too, the decks focus a lot, like oftentimes I'll see all these facts about the market, right? And why this is such a great market to be in, and it's just too generic. I mean, I think it's important to maybe highlight a little bit of that, but I think the distinguishing factor element is more important. Even within that marketplace, why are you the one? What makes you special? What makes your offering special? And why does it stand out among the competition is, I think, absolutely crucial. And I don't see founders emphasizing that enough. As distinguishable from their competition, if or even that they're solving a problem that hasn't been solved before. Maybe there isn't quite competition because they're so distinct, which is, I think, ideal. But yeah, I see a lot of times founders don't like hone in enough on that when they're pitching, and I think it can be a waste of time to spend too much time on generic factors.
I'll just add one thing at a very tactical level. I think so. The question, what does traction mean to us as investors? And I think at the pre-seed, you might be, and I can't remember, Carissa, if you're raising a friends and family round or if you were looking more for angels. And again, my background's mostly in technology companies, but I will say that traction can be a week over week or month over month growth rate. It can be, and if it's not that, it could be like, hey, we've got a wait list of 300 customers who, and our wait list is growing X amount, each month. Or some metric like that, basically to help people understand that there's demand for this, there's early demand for this, and the signal's there. And I think that applies to either a friends and family round or an angel round. But they want to know that there's that people want it, and there's some metric behind that. At the pre-seed level, I think that's really mostly what I've seen at the pre-seed.
Thank you, guys. That was all great advice, not only just for this round, but how we're going to deploy the funds from this round to be better positioned for the next one. So I appreciate it.
Thanks, Carissa. Thanks for coming back and joining us. So resetting the room for just a moment, we're talking all things fundraising, and we've got a panel of excellent and very experienced VCs and angel investors. And so we're taking questions about all things fundraising. So take the time now to follow the moderators if you have not already. And we're going to go to Mark. Mark, what's your question for the investors?
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me on the stage. I'm the CEO and founder of Quizbit, spelled Kwizzbit. Quizbit allows people to host and play amazing interactive quizzes from anywhere in the world in real time. We've got about 40,000 quizzes that have been run using the platform. Over 500,000 people have played. Monthly recurring revenue, B2C and B2B models. We've done some really cool stuff. I mean, last night we teamed up with Nintendo Canada and we ran a quiz with thousands of Nintendo fans for Mario's 35th birthday, and we ended up trending in Canada, which was great. So we're really gathering momentum. This was the first room that I ever joined, and I keep coming back. So you're doing something great. And I've actually made some connections with some of you, which again is great. And I actually pitched in a room last week on Clubhouse, and the response was phenomenal. We've had 3 investment meetings from the pitch, and we're actually now only 100,000 away from our 500,000 raise. So Clubhouse is really doing its thing. But I suppose it's for me and for other people, really. I'm looking to close the round, and I do want to keep up the momentum. So my question is quite straightforward, I think. For those people looking to raise and to pitch on Clubhouse, who should we be following, and what sort of rooms should we be looking for?
Always Roberto.
Yeah, always
You're
Roberto.
in the right room, my friend. You're in the right room.
Mark, have you connected? And I'm conscious of the fact that I know I need to get back to you, and I promise you I will. I need to look through my list, and I've just had a backlog. So I promise you I will get on that this week and come back to you this week.
Yeah,
But
no, we don't.
Sorry, did I interrupt you? What were you saying?
No, carry on, sir.
Okay. Have you reached out? I remember I suggested you reach out to Beta. Have you reached out to her yet?
I don't think I have yet. I mean, I've spoken briefly with Marco. Myself and Shauna have spoken briefly on Twitter. And there's some other great guys. When I pitched in a room last week, there was various other people in there. And obviously, there's your network, Angel, which I'm going to be signing up to as well.
Great. And so I'm glad. Thank you. Because there are a few investors in there that, now that you just mentioned it, that I think could be good. And I think Beta is joining as well. She's another Italian, like Roberto and I, but she is based in, I think Beta is based in the UK, isn't she, Paulina? Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
She is in the UK. She has her own room to do with branding for entrepreneurs, I think on Thursday evenings, UK
yes.
time, I'm pretty sure. And she is very often to be found in UK Startup Radio room.
Yeah, so she would be a good, so it's just as it sounds, BETA, and I'm pretty sure she's the only one with that name on here. But she is a gaming entrepreneur, and she had I know she had a pretty decent size exit in the UK. So she will definitely be another good source. And then I am going to look at the gameplay investors that we have that are still actively investing. So I think those ones are good. In terms of, if I were you, I would scroll through the Startup Club members and scroll through the VC and Angels Club members. Specifically, I would focus in on VC and Angel Club members. So sometimes I have hosted this room under VC and Angels Club, but most oftentimes I do it under Startup Club because I think there are more founders there. So, but VC and Angels Club, you'll see lots of angels and VCs who are members of that club. And then I would check out their social profiles and see what kind of stuff they're investing in. I would also check out Crunchbase Pro to look through the database of investors there. And I don't think you're going to have a problem closing this 100K round in the next couple of weeks.
No,
you
could also
totally agree.
On the Italian theme, you could try and find Riccardo Zacconi. I'm not sure if he is on here, but I think other platforms are probably available. He's the founder of King Candy Crush. And then specifically in the UK, I mean, we've had a fair share of fairly large game-related exit and investment. So you might want to speak to David Gardner at London Venture Partners, who were investors in things like Playfish and Supercell and many other, King probably as well. Initial Capital, that's the former founders of Playfish. So there's many, but also maybe the Kingsley brothers who run Rebellion. Whom do I forget? Ian Livingston, of course.
Yeah, cool. Those are all good ones.
I'm desperately writing these down, guys. I'm getting there, but yeah, I mean, it's fantastic. Yeah, it's a
okay,
fantastic.
I can continue. Charles Cecil. There's the guys from Team 17, the Natural Motion guys, Thorsten Reil, although I'm not sure he invests in games. I saw that he's doing more deep techie now these days. But there is tons.
Shauna, do any games investors come to mind for you?
I know some. I need to look them up. So if I love what you're building, Mark. I know we were talking on Twitter DM. Feel free to message me and remind me to send some your way.
You know what? I've got two more for you. Yes. Okay. I'm not going to say their names just here because they're very private. But both of them have invested in voice-based trivia games. So like, trivia games on Alexa, etc. So yeah, both of those guys would be good. So I can give you their, I've got your details. So let me send those today and see if I can get a response from them today. And also Richard Wolpert would be good too.
Yeah, last name for today. The man known as Mr. PlayStation, Chris Deering. He launched the PlayStation outside of Japan.
Fantastic, guys. Thank you very much. I'll be following up those and look into them and yeah, hoping we can close the round. We're gonna do one. I'm not gonna do it at the same time you guys do this room. I'll do it at a different time, I promise. We're gonna do a Quizbit quiz in one of the rooms soon. So yeah, and it'll be good.
You have to do it at a different time so you can invite us.
I will do, definitely. Yeah, and I can't compete with this room, to be fair, Angel. So I'll have to do it at a different.
Yeah. I love it. But I hope you wrote those down. But I'll also email you the ones I'm thinking about.
Brilliant. Thanks ever so much, guys. Keep up the good work. It's great.
Awesome. And this is the magic of Clubhouse. What an amazing room. This happens every day. So I invite all of you to join us again every day, Monday through, well, not every day, but every weekday, Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Pacific time. And as I've alluded to before, this Thursday, we're going to be doing something different. We'll be joining a talk about branding that'll happen in the Angel Club. And to find out more information about that exclusive club, check out Angel's bio. And in the meantime, we're going to speak with Jared. Jared, what's your question for the investors?
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having me. I'm here in New York. And again, my name is Jared, and I'm the co-founder of a dermatology telehealth startup called DocBright. And our mission is to be the most loved online dermatology platform. To give you all a little bit of background for my question. So we're a very early stage startup, having launched only about 10 months ago. But we're really grateful to have had a lot of early success by setting ourselves apart with a really personalized and patient-centric experience, which is something that's we think is often lacking from other telehealth platforms that don't require live face-to-face video or phone interactions like DocBright. And to date, we've been completely self-funded. We've operated as lean as possible. We're still running on a low-code MVP, and we don't really have a true technical lead or CTO yet. But we're moving in the right direction. We're growing every month in terms of total patients treated and revenue earned. And at our current state, we could keep self-funding DocBright the way that we are and sustain our modest growth probably for at least another year. But with outside funding, we can certainly accelerate that growth by a significant factor. So my question was similar to Carissa's from earlier about what traction means. From that, I really took away that for us, returning customer rate and customer lifetime value is going to be really important. So my new question is regarding how to represent our revenue numbers to interested parties. So under our model, we collect a fee from patients, and a portion of that fee goes to the dermatology provider immediately, and the other portion goes to DocBright as a technology fee. So when we do present our revenue numbers, is it more important for us to be presenting the total collected fee, or only the portion that's retained by us? And if there's time for it, my second question would be, is when we do go to raise money, assuming we do start with a friends and family round, how do startups typically go about valuing themselves at that early stage? And what do those terms typically look like? And thanks so much for everyone's time.
Absolutely. Shauna, do you want to address well, you can address all of it if you want.
Well, yeah. I actually, just recently went through this, so it's super interesting because we have a lot of money going through our platform, and we take a cut of it. So it's very similar. And the way that I've talked about it is, I kind of have a metric of like total money each month going through our platform, and then our MRR and ARR, because I want to make sure it's sort of put in perspective that there's such a large amount of money going through our platform, and then here's our revenue as part of that, just to kind of put it in perspective. And so far, that's worked really well for me. I think the other thing that is maybe even more interesting that I talk about before that is the customers and, an early signal of how it's going and why sort of we think this could be a big business. Because at the earlier stages, like the numbers and the revenue, it never looks as, at least in my opinion, it never looks as good as you want it to look. So I always try to kind of put it in perspective and kind of work my way down when I speak about the traction. I hope that's a little bit helpful.
Yeah, that's extremely helpful. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks so much.
I would so I've done the same in the past. You definitely want to report all the total revenue coming through the platform for sure. But yeah, I would not factor that into the MRR, et cetera. So I agree with Shauna on that.
Great, thank you.
Thanks for the question, Jared. Okay, so we are just talking about all things fundraising and angel investing. We're going to get through the people on the stage. So in the meantime, take some time to follow the moderators. And we've got, is it Ya? Am I saying that correctly?
Correct, yes.
Thank you. Welcome to the stage.
Thank you for having me. So my name is Ya. I'm from Toronto, Canada. And I have a company called FemB&B, and is essentially a social networking platform that's also home sharing vacation rental platform for women by women, along with a 24/7 AI travel assistance. We just launched about a few months ago, and so far we have over 3,000 women that have signed up for our service. However, since we're already in the travel industry, as you guys know, travel has been, impacted with the pandemic a lot. And we were hoping to actually start, I would say start maybe start raising funds or our seed funds in the next 6 months. We've been able to bootstrap and also raise almost close to 40K through pitch competitions, as well as grants and other things, to be able to kind of put our platform. So I'm just wondering, and sorry, we just recently also got accepted into an acceleration program that allow us to launch in India and also get access to angel investors there. However, my whole thing was I was planning to also at least connect with some angel investors, and I'm a bit nervous because one, travel is not really going anywhere right now, and two, the traction that I was hoping to get more traction right now. However, I'm just a bit nervous as to who to connect with and how to really build the network when we're ready to actually raise funds.
Volker, you want to jump on that one?
Toronto, love it. We sold our last company to BlackBerry, so I spent quite a bit of time there. So first of all, I don't think you need to be afraid that your numbers are not where you probably thought they might be or hoped they might be a year ago. Because guess what? Everyone knows that there's a pandemic out there, and everyone knows how hard the travel sector was hit. What, however, investors will also know. So on the Canadian theme, you need to skate to where the puck will be, and I think everyone is pretty clear that people won't stop traveling. And there are I hear cases being made now that they will actually start travel even more, because in this year in isolation, we have all learned, or we're all reminded on how important that is. So I think, similar to what was said previously with regard to a number of pre-seed startups that asked, okay, how do I actually show traction? What would people look for? I think when you in inverted commas knuckle down and demonstrate, okay, why is this something that the world needs? And I think that's a question you can probably answer very, very easily. What's your route to market? What's the indicative uptake? And if it's not numbers, actual numbers right now, which everyone would understand, do you have, it was previously mentioned, are there wait lists? Are there expressions of interest? Do you have beta lists, etc.? And then start building that from there. Seen from the distance, and bear in mind that I do not really know your company at all. This looks like angel territory, and my network. I'm based in the UK, so my network over in Canada isn't as great. But I do know from old friends over there that the angel scene in both Toronto but also in Montreal is pretty well developed. So I'm not 100% sure where to point you to specifically, but there should be people out there.
Yeah, I would just say so. There's only one company in my portfolio that's Canadian, and they're actually out of Montreal. But I grew up in Detroit, and I've spent a lot of time in Toronto, both professionally and just because it's so close, we went there often. And Toronto's got a pretty good angel ecosystem, and I agree with Volker. It's definitely angel stage. A lot of the Canadian investors are in that database that I mentioned earlier, the Crunchbase Pro. It doesn't do a great job at breaking down sectors and geographies and things like that, but it's easy enough to do that research. I've got a pretty extensive database where I've got those additional criteria in, so so I can take a look in there. I think from an investor standpoint, directly to the point around the pandemic and that impacting traction, a lot of what investors will look for is your ability to pivot or to iterate in, like, on the fly in real time, like to be able to come up with either even if it's not revenue through bookings, different ways that you can show that you're continually growing your community. I know, for example, I use a travel agent for everything. And I know a lot of people don't use travel agents, but I do, because I have kind of, I'm highly curated. Let's just say I'm a high touch client when it comes to travel. Partly because, before the pandemic, I traveled so much, and I use a woman, Erica Gregg, and her company Escape to Shape. And I've been impressed with how she's been able to cultivate that community. So, for example, she's got, this, it's a Zoom that's coming up, but it's not just, Zoom people talking. Like, you can actually order, these particular products that are from this location. She's going to have different speakers about this particular, location that she's doing, one of these trips to, and she's doing a whole cultural thing. And so, I've been impressed, just as a customer, with the way that, she's continually coming up with ideas of ways to keep my wanderlust alive, without making me feel bad that I'm not traveling. And for me, that at least keeps her front of mind in terms of when I start traveling again. So just from an investor standpoint, I would think about the ways that you can continually, give value to, the community that you've developed, or the customer base that you've developed, even if you're not generating, revenue from them. Because when, some of these restrictions are lifted and people are traveling more, you want them to think of booking through you first, rather than just jumping over to Airbnb or, or someone else. And I think when you're already in a market that is very, very competitive, then, and I would say that yours is, I think, your brand and your ability to really, really connect with, female travelers, and I don't know if it's, single travelers or what, but your ability to really connect with them is going to be one of the things that differentiates you from some of the other, more generic options and some of the much bigger players that are out there. So I would just, think of different ways that you can stay engaged with that customer base that you've built. Find, new offers or new ways of attracting, female travelers, if that's, your focus. Even if it's not through, facilitation, or transactional, bookings. So I would, consider those, look to some of those sources in terms of investors, and you're welcome to come over to the Angel Club as well, where we've got a pretty extensive database. But most of the investors that I know personally out of Canada are Montreal and Vancouver based, but some of them are in Toronto. I'm not sure if they invest in your sector. I would have to take a look. Does that help?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And I'm going to check it out because I haven't done an Airbnb myself, but I have listed my places in London and California and Michigan out before. And I hadn't thought of this take on it. So I'm intrigued and I'll
What? You
check it
never
out.
used Airbnb? Jesus, woman.
No.
Yeah,
No.
where were you for the last 30 years?
Oh my God. I'm like, like for me, yeah, I just look at it as like more work. I'm sorry. That's kind of how I look at it. So, but I list my places on Airbnb. I don't book them. I like the spas. Okay. I like it a little plush. I can't help it.
First class all the way, baby.
Yeah. I didn't want to say it because it just sounds so wanky.
Well, when you've made it through being a serial entrepreneur, then you can afford the spas, right?
Yeah, I guess. Well, there's some pretty expensive, homes out there for rent, villas as well.
I was about
but,
to say, I mean, you don't need to go for the $20 a night thing somewhere in the suburb.
Well, if they come with like staff and masseuse and I don't have to arrange any of that, then I'll book. Oh,
So,
you know what? I lie. 2019, I rented a massive house in New Orleans, invited like a bunch of friends. We did like
And
4
we
days
weren't
in
there.
New Orleans.
How
I
come?
know, like the house wasn't that big. It wasn't
You
that
just
big.
you just keep incriminating yourself, Angel.
I
Be
better just
silent,
shut up.
woman.
Exactly. Cool.
So,
Well, I hope that's helpful. Yeah. What, Marco?
Angel, Yar's got a lovely place in Ibiza on her site. So all I was going to say is, I'm not in your space, and what Angel said was, and Volker, great advice. I'll try and give you a bit of encouragement because I know it can feel like it's dark times because of COVID. So here's my encouragement. I'm just looking at it from a pure opportunity perspective. I think it's going to be an exciting space when countries start opening up. But my advice would be is those companies that are best situated or at the forefront are going to be the ones that are going to do really well. And what I would say alongside that is if you can be as agile as possible or as flexible as possible within what geographic countries you can operate in, that is only going to benefit you. And the reason why I say that is if we just take Europe as an example, we're going through in Europe a vaccination process. Well, the UK is far ahead than other countries in Europe. So hopefully we might open up sooner. And therefore, if we're opening up sooner, it means that we might be accepting visitors sooner than other countries. So look at it about being at the forefront. So I think as Angel was alluding to, market yourself, get yourself in prime pole position. And then if you are able to be agile as to where you can open up, then grasp those opportunities as and when they come up.
Wow, thank you very much for that advice.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, you said you had an AI component to it, and I think I just raised in terms of my personal preferences. I don't know, the extent to which the AI serves as a kind of concierge, but for me, one of my blockers is, I'm that person who goes to the concierge and I'm like, can you please just book me a great seafood restaurant tonight? I don't think about it. I don't Google. I don't do any of it. I'm like, I just want a really great like restaurant. Like if I could do the equivalent, or I do the same for like hair salons, nail salons, like experiences. And I know Airbnb offers all of those things, but it like that little extra work that I have to do, I just don't bother doing it. So just like, I don't think I'm the mass consumer, but I am a female traveler that would love to support another female founder. So if you have ways of building in those concierge like services, those are even services like if you had that, like capability that just made it super, super easy, then you could even do that for for staycations and things like that as well. Create that kind of whole ambiance and that whole experience without people having to do very much. But I don't necessarily think I'm the I don't know. I may or may not be your target customer, but that's one of my reservations around these kinds of bookings. So I don't know if that helps. Don't put me on your product roadmap, but it's something to explore.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Great. So, Michael, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
My name is Michael. I'm the founder of Greenway International. It's a social enterprise. We are focused on reducing the plastic pollution. And we have so far from 2018, we have collected about 2.5 million plastic bottles, which could have gone to the oceans. But during this period, we were doing research and development, and we're able to come up with a simple solution that can help reduce the plastic waste, which will reduce the bottled water that is being disposed. So now this solution, we want to roll it out. So we want to know how best we can attract funding partners, and I'll need some advice from you to kickstart this project.
Okay, so sorry, let me make sure I got that. So you're it's a plastic reduction business. You have you raised any money to date?
No, we haven't raised money, but what we want to do now is to venture into producing bottled water with sustainable packaging. We have a sustainable packaging that can help people to get portable water, and at the same time, it will compensate them instead of throwing away plastic into the trash can. So we have a solution now that is more sustainable for businesses that we are serving, that can help, and also the people to help reduce the waste.
Okay, so you've already got a product, which is it plant? It's some plant-based or something else that is better from an ecological and environmental standpoint in terms of the bottling itself.
Yes,
and you have customers that are corporate. You have corporate customers.
Currently, we have corporate customers, and I remembered one of the corporate customers we are working with is a multinational hotels, because I myself, I have been producing bamboo straws for hotels and tourism industries, especially food and beverage industries, for the past 2 years. And most of these are...
How much revenue do you have?
Currently, I have about $100,000 in revenue.
Okay, and that's for this past year, or over what period of time?
For the bamboo straw, actually. But now we see that there's a lot of consumption in the water industry. So we want to set up a water factory where we can produce portable water in the water bottle, so that people can still afford it the same way they afford a plastic bottle. But we have a packaging that is eco-friendly, which will actually help businesses and individuals to save the planet, and at the same time, they will get the value for their money.
So, I mean, I know that the industry is frantically looking for that. A friend of mine founded a company called Flow Water. They're based out of Toronto. And they've just last week announced their IPO. Now, they don't use plastic bottles, but basically try to use cartons and so on and so forth. But, then they're basically, you still have additives there on the inside. But I know, I mean, anyone, Nestle, Diageo, large companies, they all look for alternatives. So if your solution is mass producible, cheap enough, let's say, so the more expensive it is to produce, you will just have to look for higher range stuff, and water would then not be it. But I think, yeah, I mean, you come at the right time. The awareness for climate change has gone up, even with people who basically never thought about this over the last 2 years or so. So yeah.
So first, Volker, I drink Flow every day. I drink the lemon, and they have this like blackberry
There you go.
hibiscus. So, oh my God, my fridge is full of it. But the irony is that I haven't been able to find like a retailer that regularly has it. So I have it shipped from Amazon Prime.
Same
And then
with
that
me.
makes, okay, you too. Yeah. But doesn't
Yeah,
it
I
make
get the
you
rose
wonder, like,
kind.
yeah, all that packaging that you get from Amazon Prime, I'm like, it's not plastic, but it's still a lot of packaging, and
All right,
so
I shall not let Nick know that he needs to up his Bay
distribution.
Area
Yeah, it comes in like
distribution.
3 boxes when you get it from Amazon.
All right.
Yeah, likewise. But Michael, where is your company based? Where are you based?
My company is based in Ghana, and we can operate in different countries. Currently, we are operating in Ghana and Nigeria, and we are looking at expanding into American and Europe market.
Okay, I mean, I'll give you a short answer, and then I would love for Kate to introduce herself and to share any insights that she's got. And I think Aaron was in here earlier, and Aaron has good suggestions around African-based funding sources. So if he's not in here, I'll take a look. If he's not in here, then I'll make sure I get those and I will tweet them. But if I were you, I would definitely start looking at lots of different kinds of funding sources, not necessarily just angels or VCs, because there are a lot of grants and funds that are set up specifically for kind of double bottom line or triple bottom line businesses. Now, I don't know personally how extensive their coverage are for the African continent, so that's something that you'd have to do a little, digging on. But I would absolutely start following some clean tech investors and impact investors on social media and also here on Clubhouse, because I think a lot of the clean tech and impact investors are going to know other investors who are specifically focused on this area. There are a couple of, like 3 or 4, their names are not coming to mind off the top of my head, but specifically around water. So I would be happy to go into my database and get those to you. But there's a pretty big cohort of investors focused on water. Were you going to say something, Volker?
Yes. So there is a fund in the UK, and I do not know if they would invest in an African company, but it's Sky Ocean Ventures. And it is weirdly the venture arm of Sky Television, or one of them. And this one is specifically set up for to help the oceans. So clean water, less plastic, that's right up their road. When I was on here last, I talked to you guys about one of our portfolio companies, Zampla, who do a plastic replacement based on pea protein, and Sky Ocean is one of our co-investors there. And then specific to Africa, the Open Society Foundations from George Soros, they have a venture arm which many people don't know. So it's a real venture arm, but that who do impact investment, and they are active in Africa. It's a good friend of mine, British with Nigerian roots, had been leading this in North Africa, well, in the MENA region, basically. I do not know who does that in your region. But I do know that they are active, so it might be worthwhile. Perhaps you can find out who that is.
And Kate, thank you for that, Volker. Kate, can you hi. Could you do a brief intro, and then have you got any suggestions from Michael? He's based in Ghana. Oh, okay, you heard it. Okay.
Well, I heard most of it. I'll have a connection for him super quickly. I'm Kate Brodock, founding partner at the W Fund and CEO at Women 2.0. Our fund invests in women and underrepresented led tech companies. And Women 2.0 does a whole bunch of stuff with similar profile folks. And Michael, I really came in at the more towards the end of what you were saying, but I do have a connection for you if you want to follow me on Twitter or something and DM me. Literally this morning, I was on the phone with a great woman who is working with water.org and their burgeoning venture arm, and she's highly connected in the water space because she wants to try to figure out how to shift the mentality from a philanthropic viewpoint to one of at least some level of scale and growth in terms of the solution set out there, and would be probably delighted to speak with you. And she herself is a fantastic human.
Thank you very much. I'm so grateful to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Michael, thank you for what you're working on. I have worked with a lot of clients in the hemp space who are trying to do sustainable hemp packaging. And, I've tried to stop buying my flow water too, because I understand the impact is super important. I'll just echo and emphasize what Volker said about expense in this space. What I've seen be really the hurdle is the cost sometimes of producing these goods, and the fact that you have to go to excessive volumes to get to a place where it's practicable or where it's workable because of the costs to produce these products this way. And so I thought it was an interesting point when Volker mentioned that about higher price ticket items and even maybe breaking into the market there. Part of me thought about people pay more for alcohol and other products that it would be easier maybe to tap into some of those markets where there's a higher price passed along to the consumer, where you don't actually get priced out, and then sort of the consciousness kind of flows in and people start embracing that even more, where that you might have more traction convincing investors that it can be done on a larger scale so that it's workable financially. So those were just some additional thoughts.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with both you and Volker, and thank you for offering those resources, Kate. Any other goods that can be packaged through this unique packaging, I think, are definitely areas of exploration. And I was just thinking, I've got a master's in water policy, and I'm reconnecting with all of the professors and all of those folks in about 2 weeks' time. So I will reach out to them as well and to see what connections they might have for investors in that space for you as well.
Michael, I've got one for you. Michael, I've got one for you. So I have some close ties to Africa, and I think it's still running. So look up unless you already have, the Global Innovation Fund, and I think there is specific funding relevant to plastics and recycling, and I believe, if I remember correctly, I'm screwing my eyes up here, I think it's called Mr. Green Africa. So look up Global Innovation Fund and Mr. Green Africa.
Thank you very much. I just found it.
Great. So I hope that was helpful, Michael.
So helpful. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful, and I really appreciate the value I received from this state today. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're absolutely welcome, and come back anytime as you do a bit more research and you're further along your fundraising. You can come back every day. You learn something new. I think all of us do. So yeah, and thank you for working on something that we all need. Okay, great.
Thank you so much. I
Carrie,
really appreciate it.
You're
Hey
welcome.
guys, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Hey, I'm Carrie. I'm based in Miami. I'm in the art tech / blockchain space. I'm building an all-in-one app for artists to organize, track, and sell artwork. I'm currently in my MVP stage. I'm pre-seed, pre-revenue, completely bootstrapped. And so my question is about friends and family. I have a big network here in Miami, and I want to know what's the best way to tap into that. How do I approach someone? Do I call them up? Do I send them an email? I meet up with them. What do I do? And what's the best protocol? Thank you.
Sure, absolutely, and I think we can all tap into that. Were you in the room the other day? The Fab Five Freddy was running. Were you in that room, Carrie?
Was that the Felicia dinner party one?
Yeah.
I was in it for a little bit.
Yeah, I was just wondering because they covered some. It was more conversational, exploratory, but obviously everyone's kind of hoping for some big success stories in your area, and there aren't any yet. So lots of opportunity for you.
Well, right now
Shauna,
the NFT space is really booming right now for art and blockchain. That's like exploding.
Yep. Yeah, it is for sure. Shauna, approaching friends and family advice.
So it's interesting. I mean, I have some thoughts, but I don't know if I'm the best one to answer that because coming from an institutional investor, and I got my pre-seed from a VC firm. So I didn't get it from
So you haven't had to go friends and family. Yeah.
No, I put my own money in to bootstrap it, but I haven't, I already had it kind of coming out of the gate. So I don't know if Paulina or Angel, you probably have such a great view on this.
Yeah, and Kate, and yeah, I will definitely for sure. Kate, do you want to offer up some suggestions?
The only thing
Sorry.
I have to offer up on friends and family is don't take money from any friends and family that can't afford to lose 100%. That you don't want them hedging their bets on you. In other words, you don't want them thinking that this is like their big break. So just be careful there.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so my recommendation is, you want to be as thorough and professional as you would be, when you're approaching professional investors. So, you want to have your shit together, so to speak. You want to have your pitch deck together, you want to have your plan. And I would agree with Hillary, and not just identifying who you think can afford to, to lose that investment, because the odds are, that friends and family will lose if you, not necessarily your business, but just statistically speaking, most startups fail. So, so the conversation that you want to have with them, though, is one where you're really outlining, the risks for them so that they can fully appreciate it and then take the decision, for themselves. You can suggest, legal counsel. I don't necessarily think that you need that they need it, or that you need to have legal counsel for them, but it is, if some of them are unsure of, if you're doing a kind of safe note or you're doing a convertible note, if they aren't so familiar with, with those kinds of terms, then they might want to get, advice. There's also a lot of resources that you can point them to in terms of helping them get up to speed. But I'm usually a bit more bullish than others around friends and family, because I am really passionate about economic mobility. And, and if you do get it right, if this is, wildly successful, then those are the people that you want to take on that journey with you. You want them to share in your success. Though, your friends and family are likely to be your biggest, advocates, and the people who will, potentially introduce you to lots of other people who, could be helpful to the business, whether those are customers or other artists or, whatnot. So it is important, as Hillary, said, to make sure that they really fully appreciate, the risks involved in investing in early stage businesses. But I would also, really consider, who are the ones that you want to take with you. Now, the other part of a friends and family round is, when you're going to professional investors, the cleaner the cap table, the better. So, so if you're going to go friends and family, it's better if you don't have, 40, 50, 60, 80, whatever, friends and family and on that cap table. So, so there are lots of different ways you can go about that. You can set, like, you could have an SPV set up so that you're just managing who is, in terms of investor relations, you're just managing that relationship, with who's ever managing that. And sometimes, for people who are new to investing, they like that as well, because they don't necessarily know what questions to ask. And, so some of the cautions are also for you, right? Because if like, Hillary, cautioned, if they're really worried about whether or not they're going to lose the money, then they might end up becoming distractions to the business, to you as a founder, because they might have lots of questions and they might want to ask them often and they might want quick answers when you really need to be heads down, focused on growing your business. So when you're thinking about friends and family, when I was suggesting look at it almost like you do with a professional investor, you also need to think about, like, which one, like, is your Aunt Sally going to be that one who's calling you like every couple of days going like, how many artists do you have on board? Like, what's happening? What's it? And I just read this in like USA Today. And, so you really need to think about, in the same way you would, I think, with angel investors or other investors, who is going to be a good fit. But I do encourage other founders to kind of take people along the journey with them if they're very, very confident that, that they can make this a kind of successful venture. The thing is, you don't necessarily have to take them in at the friends and family round either. There are lots of other ways you could construct ways for them to come in. But, yeah, it's something to consider. And in terms of how you reach out to them, like, if you're like most founders, you're going to be talking to everybody and their brother about your business. Like, you're going to be in the Starbucks, even the way things are right now, you're going to be standing, 6 feet away from somebody, getting your chai tea latte, and you're going to weave it into conversation, so the way that you talk to people, you need to tell them, like, this is how much capital, I think I need to raise. This is what this capital is, this is how I'm going to use it. This is what that will likely mean for the business, or what I hope it will get the business to in terms of, any kind of key milestones that you're going to use that capital for. So you're going to approach it like you would a professional investor, conversation, just with an elevated sense of responsibility around communicating risks and making those investments. But like I said, you can set up different vehicles so that the management becomes easier, and so that they can invest, 1K, 2K, et cetera, lower amounts, without, getting into any hot water in terms of accredited versus non-accredited investors. Not sure, Kartik or anyone else, do you want to share any feedback on that?
Hey, Carrie, how much are you looking to raise?
Right now, 25 to 100 tops.
Yeah, it does sound like a friends and family round. It's such a delicate balance to strike between making people aware that it's a risk and 9 out of 10 startups fail and they might never see that money back. And also, what Angel mentioned, the economic mobility, and the fact that if you're successful, you're going to lift all those others who invested in you. It's always a bit of a dilemma. So have you considered doing a crowdfund perhaps, where people can chip in smaller amounts?
I haven't yet. I do have a big network, and I do have high net worth individuals around me. It's not necessarily about that. It's just about, I guess it's like the ask, the use of funds, the milestones. I guess it's something like that. I've just been heads down working on the product. So I'm just getting to I'm completely bootstrapped, but I'm getting to a point where I need to bring on a special smart contractor developer, just certain things that I just cannot take on all by myself. And I've been in this industry for 15, 20 years, so it's not a surprise, and it's not shocking for anybody. It's just kind of like, it's that ask, it's that approach.
Kerry,
Yeah.
can I just jump in? If I
Yeah,
may?
go
Kerry,
ahead, sorry.
Kerry, have you got some completed works?
As far as I have an MVP.
Okay, but you are going to be creating pieces, aren't you? Is that correct?
I'm actually an artist myself, but
Yeah.
I'm moving into the operator stance. And
Okay.
I'm building a platform for other artists. I've been working with artists in Miami for many years, and I have about 500 artists that I work with. So once I can get up and going, then I can start onboarding. But I'm just kind of like in that MVP. I'm testing, I'm doing this, but I definitely need to like break into the NFT scene, and I need to kind of bring that all together.
Got you.
Yeah, so Kerry,
Okay,
one thing
I thought what you, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I mean, basically, Kerry, what I was going to say is like, yeah, it sounds like some high net individuals, and you should be going out for them before you do a crowd raise. I have a little different perspective here. I think that if you know those people, right, and many of them aren't really investors, but they have money to give you, and it looks like you're trying to raise a small amount of money, I think that's the right way to go. But I would approach it like that, right? It's not, this isn't a hedge. I wouldn't push this as like, try to sell it as, this is a great opportunity to hedge your public stocks, blah, 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 because if they're investing in one or two startups, like that's not a sound strategy. So I wouldn't make that argument. I would make an argument of passion and one of two things. Either you, Kerry, they believe in you. I've done X, Y, and Z, and like you believe in me, so you should give me your money to start this company, and just really focus it around you as a person and maybe a little bit about what you're building, because I mean they want to know where their money's going, but in the end of the day, they're going to make the decision based on you. And then the other side of passion is maybe just artists or crypto people. Those are two passionate communities too. So if you know a high net worth person in one of those fields, you have a lot less explaining to do with the business. But that's what I would say for friends and family is like those are the things that are going to make them give you the check. I wouldn't think about it how you pitch a traditional investor. Like if you were pitching me, I'd be like, oh, well, there are 10 other NFT platforms and I can see their volume on DApp radar, blah, 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 right? It's a very different conversation. So that would be my advice.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
I think that's really good advice. It was very different than mine, but he's absolutely right in that they're investing in you, right? And so, when I'm talking about pitch them as a professional investor, I mean, like, you should make sure you really know how you're going to build this business. And it shouldn't be at a stage where you're still not sure. If you don't have a pitch deck already, that's okay. But you should have all of those essential elements kind of worked out in your head as to what kind of business you're growing, just as an extra level of responsibility. But I agree with Kartik that it really is about you and they're investing in you. The other thing that I would consider is whether or not you could because if it's 25K to 100K, you might be able to partner with a couple of galleries who might be interested in investing in this kind of technology as well. So they might be willing to come in as, in a friends and family type round to be able to get access to the kind of insights that you're going to be getting as you build, to be able to, help sell to other artists that they should be, joining an exhibition at their gallery, whatever it is. But, I would look at different commercial models, even though it's very early stage, that might onboard early customers that could help subsidize the cost that you've got. So just explore whether or not there might be partners who want to get active in this space but don't want to build something themselves.
Yeah, I do have a pitch deck, and I'm not looking to work with galleries. I'm looking to disrupt the gallery system. So I'm working with artists.
Got it.
It's a very, I'm trying to take that part of it out, which I used to have a gallery. I live in the
Got
arts district here in Miami, and I had a gallery. I'm like so in the scene. So I'm trying to disrupt the scene.
Well, so
well, the same could apply to collectors, you know.
Yeah, collectors, exactly. But I'm just trying to do like friends and family. I just need to, it's just the approach. Just got to put that all together and do it.
First, I'd like to echo Kartik. I think that's spot on. And then, it's towards the end now. There were a couple of important snippets coming out. I already work with 500 artists. And presumably that also means that you do know collectors. And guess what? Collectors usually have money. So that is in terms of, the risk they would be taking, etc., proportionate to their overall wealth. All of a sudden, you're not talking very tough decisions to make. And then if, you can convince them that you are worth that investment, that's probably the easiest, most straightforward way to go. Just my 2p from that.
Thank you.
I'll add one thought that came to mind is I know sometimes for me, because I think the spirit of your question is kind of like this might feel like a little bit of a hurdle. And I know as a founder, it feels like you're doing a million things and some things just are a lot harder mentally to do. And I thought I would just share. So I do have two people I know who are really interested in this space that are friends that want to come in on my seed round. And how I got them interested was just texting them and just saying, hey, wanted to follow up on what I'm working on. I'd love to chat if this might be a good investment opportunity for you. I thought of you right away. And that just led to a conversation. They looked over my pitch deck and they basically gave me a verbal that they're in. So it was a really easy process. So if there's any way that you can make it as easy as possible so it doesn't feel like a really big, hard thing. And I just did it in a really conversational way because I know them. And so it was really easy to just text them and they could have said no too, and we would have still been friends, obviously.
Yeah, no, but I think that's a good point, Shauna, the mindset, because a lot of times when you're at that early stage, you kind of feel vulnerable, right? And so I think it's that mindset of like, hey, we know each other, you can trust me, and I'm going to be responsible with your money. And I'm building something that you and I both know needs to be built. So yeah, I think it's partly a mindset in terms of how that communication occurs. Like that example you just provided, Shauna, I think is really good.
Yes, thank you guys.
Absolutely. And just to reset the room real quick, this room is daily at noon Pacific, 8 p.m. UK time. On Thursday, we're going to be, we're not going to have the club here. We're going to have Angel Club, which is getting into personal branding and how you tell your story as a founder to investors. And for investors, how you attract the right deal flow by communicating your investment thesis as a thought leader in your sector. So every day here, Monday at noon Pacific, 8 p.m. UK. Please do follow the moderators if you're finding value in this session. Please do look around you in the audience to see if there are any co-creators or collaborators or other investors that you might want to work with. And we are going to be taking the last question of the day. And Carrie, I welcome you to check out Angel Club because there's a lot of creative industry and entrepreneurs and investors that are coming on as of these last couple of weeks. So that's an area I'm really passionate about. So, but I'm happy to be a resource to you either way. And I'm going to post some things on Twitter in terms of, how you identify and go about creating your investor target list. That's a kind of next stage for you, but I think it'll be helpful.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Carrie. Erica, welcome. You've been very patient, and I saw you drop out there for a minute. I got worried. Welcome.
No, no, thank you for hosting this space. I truly appreciate it. I've been hopping in and out because I'm currently moderating a room on artist management and development. So please forgive me for the bouncing, but I just wanted to be present for both. Just to be very quick, my name is Erica Simone. I'm owner of ESPR. It's an LLC that specializes in public relations, communications, and artist development, as well as other aspects inside of entertainment media. I am in the beginning stages of trying to figure out what I need to do for angel investment or VC capital funding. I have a very great network that I'm building here as well as outside of Clubhouse. There is a dire need of an art and entertainment space inside of Los Angeles right now. Unfortunately, with COVID, it has taken a huge chunk of our live space industry, and we have had 7 major venues close in the last 3 quarters. So it's been very disappointing. Knowing this and having the advantage that I do in my field, I am looking for people who are willing to invest in arts, education, and entertainment spaces in Los Angeles, as we are going to need one. This is a music city, and we are going to lack places to host our music. So I've been listening, and this has been a very informational. I mean, Angel Club is great, and some of the website that you've been giving out. Also amazing. Lord, they're pinging me back into the artist management room. They'll have to wait. But as a beginner, with the network and the resources to really start this walk into angel investing, looking for someone to invest in a small venue, what would be some of the better ideals of where I would go to start? Also, really quickly, when you guys think of a dream deck that you want to be presented with, especially if you're thinking inside of arts, entertainment, educational spaces, nonprofit, what are the ideal things that you're looking for in a deck that would impress you, so that I have the best chances of securing as much funding as I can? Thank you for your time.
So you're asking how to construct your pitch deck, Ulrika?
Well, I have an idea on how to do the pitch deck, but I would like to know like some of the key ideal things that you think of that stand out to you in a pitch deck that make you want to invest in a person.
Okay, so what really resonates with me is some form of a kind of hook, story-based hook around this is the problem and this is how I'm going to solve it. So some sort of personal story of somebody who is ideally your customer already, or maybe your target customer, and how you're going to make their life so much better because of what you're doing. Then how you're going to solve it, what the product does, what's the current competitive landscape, what's the market size and opportunity, the competitive landscape, the team, of course. What else am I missing, guys? Chime in.
So I often, as old and boring as it is, but I still often point founders towards the Sequoia capsule pitch deck, which kind of has become the industry norm. And I know that, so when it comes to venues, you're looking to different investors. When it comes to nonprofit, you're looking to different investors. But what the Sequoia pitch deck does really well is once you have basically a slide for each of those that they call out, you have a very complete and rounded pitch deck. And to what Paulina said, that personal hook, that story, that is kind of reflected in it. It is the classic old problem, solution, and then, why me or why us and why now, and so on and so forth. So as a type of self-check, I think that's a great starting point for you to take. So yeah. Oh, and a shout out to Berkeley.
Berkeley forever. Yes, very much so. And you said, sir, the Sequoia capsule pitch deck, that was?
It's, if you Google Sequoia pitch deck, you will
Sequoia
find
pitch deck.
Sequoia. Yes. You will find a link to, I think it's on SlideShare. And it is basically I think it's like 10, 15 slides, but they also provide explanations to go with it. And that's a really good sort of guide.
Thank you very much. I've got that for sure. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll tweet that out too. Erica, so some of the investors who are likely to be interested, and I don't know, are you involved in the Music City initiative? Not just the LA-based one. Yeah.
The Music City Initiative is something that we just got into at Berkeley. And so I am getting into what I can do or how I can connect with them. Surely,
okay.
Yes.
Okay, yes. So I know all those guys over there, so I'm happy, it sounds like you're already connected there, but if you need additional in those spaces are either retail investors or real estate investors or both, and oftentimes there's a whole lot of overlap there. And so there are, and then within retail, obviously music venues are a whole different kettle of fish, because you're going to want pretty specialized kit within the premise. Correct. So I have a pretty long list of investors in that space. It's challenging, as you know, especially right now. But I think that whenever there are markets in flux, like right now, I actually think it's a good time to try to raise that capital. It's harder for a lot of reasons. But part of the reason I say that is because some of these spaces are a lot more affordable.
Right.
And
Exactly.
Right. And if you haven't even if this lasts, let's just say another year, God forbid, what you're talking about is creating as far as I understood, creating something from scratch. So with real estate driven projects, you need a longer lead time anyway. So if you get the investment now, you're going to be working through, this period of time when, you would be down anyway, so you're not refurbing, I guess is what I'm saying. So in Detroit, I bought like 8 city blocks, and I took these old manufacturing plants that had been derelict for many years, in some cases decades. Some of the buildings were from the early 1800s. They were made, some of these spaces were just incredible. Some of them were an incredible pain in the butt, but but no one was financing at that stage. This was 2010. So no, like the banks weren't financing these projects. Like, angel investors weren't financing these projects because they were just deemed too risky in that particular city.
Yeah.
LA is not where, Detroit was. LA is a lot better off, and the restaurant scene has been just, booming over the last.
Booming. Oh yeah, it's been wild.
Yeah. So I think that you've got a lot of positive signals that, that could create something attractive there. But, when I was going through that, I self-financed everything, and, I had prior tech exits, so I could, but I financed it myself because I couldn't get capital from other sources. I couldn't get banks. I wasn't getting investors because
Correct.
they thought it was too risky. Right. So
they always do.
Yeah. There are a lot of conditions right now that are very similar. So one of the things that I think that in this particular situation, you're going to have to find people who are really, really committed to music and the creative scene in LA, and real estate investors who may not be musos, but they really get buying in a down market. And so, and there's a lot of them out there. So those are the kind, like in terms of profiles, those are the ones, at least to me, that come immediately to mind. The other thing is that, I would look for, and this is more Paulina's area of expertise, but I would start to look at whether there's any, grant money available or other sources funding, outside of angels and and other kind of real estate investors, to see if you can come up with at least a basis for funding that would allow you to secure particular properties. Have you already identified the ones you're interested in?
So this is all amazing information. So I was
Mhm.
thinking of the grants to fund the events that would then bring the attention to the project that I'm working on. I'm already eyeing out some real estate. I am a Los Angeles native, so I know exactly where's what and what's hot and
Yeah.
what's good to work on.
Yeah.
So already identifying some great spaces, the up and coming areas right now, which is downtown LA and things like that. Areas that were pretty much empty 20, 30 years ago, but are booming and need to be taken advantage of. And definitely thinking in terms of attacking while the market is down. Since we're missing venues right now, and since we're dropping venues and spaces are becoming open because of the situation, if we move now by 2022, yikes, 2023, even if I have to wait for that long to get myself established, we should be the ideal is to be the leading event space that's ready. And not just event too, there's so many opportunities just outside of event space. There's creative spaces and photography and videography, all the good fun, live streaming, all the good fun stuff. So these are all things I'm considering, definitely looking into grants, into funding the events that will get me hopefully the building. Yes.
Right. Yep. So okay, so two things to consider. So one is liquor licenses. So that's going to be
Yes, queen.
yes. And I would I would look at availability of those even before some of the properties. So and I bet that there are going to be some people who are willing to sell their licenses right now. I bet that there will be some restaurants that would be willing to sell their licenses right now. So that, put that right there at the top of the agenda. The other thing that I was going to say, and I think it sounds like you're already thinking about it, and some of the advice we gave somebody in a very different market, different segment altogether, is is really taking that pop-up approach where you can, until you are starting to build up a pretty strong list, so that when you are securing that property and the liquor license, and you've got all that, you've already got a pretty strong database that you can market to. So
Okay.
anything you can do around, and some of those could be virtual events right now too, right? So
Right.
but make sure that you're collecting emails. So if you're doing it on let's just say YouTube, you're doing a YouTube live, or you're doing a Zoom live, or whatever, or Hopin, or whatever platform you're using, even here on Clubhouse, find ways to collect email addresses and or mobile numbers, so that you are building up a kind of community that you can then market to once you start to secure the licenses, the premise, and you've got your kind of opening launch. And some of those
Beautiful.
people will also know investors, right? So
Right.
you can share your kind of capital needs in a very kind of strategic way with that database as well.
Correct. Okay. Beautiful.
But yeah, you can reach out to me.
Sorry.
Definitely just followed you on the Instagram, Angel. Yes, I'll be in contact shortly. Thank you. Volker, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, I was thinking, it's LA and music scene. I think there is possibly an additional group of people that might be looking at your venture more from a labor of love perspective, and that's some of the top end artist management, if it's the CAAs of this world, some of the lawyers in that space. If I remember, who did I deal with back then? Ken Hertz and Fred Goldring. There's quite a few of them. They're all extremely wealthy. They're all music lovers, and so if you can basically club a few of those together, that might become an interesting additional angle. Those would be people you would not necessarily approach for an investment that is not directly related to their space, but because they are so close to it, there might be an angle there.
Hey, I have some suggestions for you. This is going to sound weird, but I toured for 10 years in the music business. I toured with Madonna and the Stones and Aerosmith and Van Halen and Velvet Revolver and Barbara Streisand
And you're going to write a book about it, as we
Yes,
discussed in
that's
the
right.
other
Paulina
room.
knows this secret of mine. I keep it
Oh,
under wraps most of
that's
the
a
time.
book we
This is
need,
just
Hillary.
such
Definitely.
a far
You're
backdrop.
killing me. You're
This is
killing me.
just that was my old gig, and when I was 19 to 29, I toured, and then I did some practice in the entertainment space, legal space in LA. So I definitely have some folks to connect you to that have a true passion for music. Some managers, some other. I have a dear friend who opened up a venue in Hollywood, and he's invested in other ones. There might be some folks that I can connect you to in the music space. I have a dear love for it as well. If you're, I don't know if you can hear it in the background. I can. My nephew's downstairs playing a harmonica that we still have from Steven Tyler's tour. So it's all I've been hearing for the last half an hour as we've been talking about this. So it's just very funny. So yes, please do email me or DM me and we'll talk.
Definitely. I
Can we
follow
can,
you on
can,
Instagram and I'll be in touch. Yes.
can we just say that this was the ultimate mic drop?
Boom.
Pretty impressive, Queen, I have to say. And yes, thank you guys all. I followed all of you because you have just provided a wealth of knowledge over the last couple of hours. Thank you for assisting. I will definitely be in touch if anyone else has anything to. And Volker, very much, yes, you're very right. Hitting up the entertainment industry directly. The venues, of course, CAA and my people at ICM and booking managers who are well established would be, of course, you'd want to have a venue. You're a booking agency. Genius.
Exactly.
Thank you.
And you should, I mean, you probably have come across Ted Cohen, because we all have.
Yes.
So he is, I mean, he's been on tour as a young A&R guy when I was in primary school, and I'm old. So he really does know everyone. And I like Ted a lot and got along fine. So I'm thinking that he might also be a good source of information for you.
Definitely. I will find the best way to reach out and make that happen. Marco, you were trying to say something. I apologize.
No, that's fine. Erica, this is a piece of advice I give to all people looking for funding, irrespective of what round. And it's pre the pitch deck, if you like. And it's funny you said about crafting the pitch deck, because I was thinking I hate pitch decks being presented to me, and I tend to sort of not even use them. But that's just me. It's just a personal thing. But what I would say is craft independent of the pitch deck, and I always actually like it in the pitch deck, but independent, craft your elevator pitch. That 20-30 seconds, because you never ever know who you are going to meet or talk to and when you are going to meet or talk to them. And that 20-30 seconds, just you meet, it's serendipitous, like it is here in Clubhouse, and you could meet them and boom. I was in a room earlier today modding another VC room, and there was a guy in there, and he talked about an example of a few months ago where somebody just pitched him basically in the elevator, because obviously you can still travel in elevators in America, unlike in the UK, and he invested in that company, not the amount that the guy wanted, but he did invest. So craft your elevator pitch. It's crucial. I absolutely believe it's crucial.
Definitely. I usually have a really great thing for myself and for the PR company, but definitely crafting something for the venue or the ideal around the venue. Yes, very key. Thank you so much. I will get on working on that right now. Thank you guys so much.
And I would say the one pager is possibly more important than a pitch deck. So if I don't know somebody well, I would probably, unless I've met them somewhere like here, I would probably not look at that pitch deck, but I would look at a one pager just because it gives me a quick idea what the company is, and if I'm interested, I'll ask for more information.
Definitely.
Can I make the case for the pitch deck though? It's because I'm the other way around.
No.
If it's not interesting, then I know that after 2 pages of looking through the pitch deck. But if it is interesting, I want to know more than the one pager. But more importantly, from a founder perspective, what crafting a great pitch deck does is it forces your thought. It forces you to think about elements of your pitch that you might not like so much. You know, if you're a finance person, then doing forecasts and God knows what comes easy. But if you're a product person, you know, it's just a dreaded thing. So to go through that process, I think will give you clarity about about the company that you want to build. And this is why I think they are important. You know, if the format in which it is presented, whatever, we all have our different preferences. But the process you go through whilst you're crafting it, I think that's invaluable.
Yeah, I think Volker, you said it much more eloquently than I did. I think my advice to Carrie around pitching friends and family was going directly to that point. It's not so much that you're going to get on a Zoom with your cousins and walk through a pitch deck, but you do want to make sure you have all your ducks in a row so that you yourself as an entrepreneur, know where your weak spots are, know where your strengths are, know what you need to do in order to take the business forward. So I think that's excellent advice. And that was the advice I was trying to give to Carrie. So thank you for that. We got that out in here. Is that helpful, Erica?
Beyond helpful. I'll definitely keep in mind a short pitch, then like a one pager just for the basics. And then if you're interested, then I can hit you with that full deck with all the info. I will keep that in mind. I will also keep in mind to keep it witty. You know, sometimes we can get a little business dry, but maybe I'll add a little bit of LOLs and wit in there. Nothing too much, but just something to keep your guys' attention. So wow, super beneficial. Thank you, Paulina, Angel, Shauna, Volker, Marco, Hillary, Roberto, everybody for the space and for like the last 3 hours that you've given us of your time. I'm really grateful. I'm pretty sure that my artist development team is angry at me, so I'm going to go join them now. But thank you again so much. And I hope to see you guys tomorrow when you do it again.
Absolutely. And Erica, I would encourage you as an artist manager to check out Audible Reality, which is one of the companies in my portfolio.
Reality.
Yeah, Audible Reality. So it's a 3D immersive audio. They've got AI technology, which basically creates 3D immersive filters for songs.
Wow.
Yeah. So you can
AI
have
space. I love that.
Yeah, it's like, so what you would spend, a couple $100,000 and a few months in a Dolby 3D, studio, you can do for, $8 a month. So
wow.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. So so I would suggest checking it out. It's Audible Reality and see if it's something your artist might be interested in. You could sell the vibes, you can use them for marketing, whatever.
Definitely sounds like a marketing tool that you can use to pull in, new fans and engage with the existing ones by giving them new aspects to a live show, maybe. So, yeah, that's amazing. I see it. I see it. It's very clever. Oh, wow. I just pulled it up on the internet. This is a great site.
Great. Yeah. Teddy Riley says it's the future of music. So let's hope he's right.
Yeah. He's usually right about everything since New Jack Swing. So we'll give it to him on. So again, thank you guys so much for your time. Super grateful.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the question. And just to close out today, we are in this room every day at noon Pacific, 8 p.m. UK. We are angel investors and venture capitalists to answer your question, any question around fundraising. We have grant specialists, family offices, crowdfunding experts. So if we can't answer your questions, we will always point you in the direction of an answer to a person who can help. And we just love, being part of your journey as founders. And so, Paulina, have you got any closing remarks?
I really enjoyed today. Didn't get to speak all that much, but really enjoyed it, and looking forward to. It's really great to see some of the same founders coming up again and perhaps giving an update on their journey. So look forward to hearing from new faces, but also those of you who may have spoken already, just to see how things are going.
Thank you. And Shauna, you've got a story of a successful outcome from the room already, don't you? From somebody who contacted you.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So we actually have two people and I think this is what you're referring to, Angel. I'm like forgetting all of them
Totally
now.
put you on the spot there. You're like, wait a minute, did I just have an outcome I didn't know about? Yeah.
I feel like I've talked to on Twitter and Instagram DM. I've talked to so many of you who followed up, and it's been really fun to be able to connect people to other people that I know in the industry and other resources, and just kind of share my personal journey too, which actually helps me as well. But yeah, I was actually just going to say the same thing as Paulina. Like, one of the best parts of this room is hearing you all. I mean, we really have such a great community here, hearing folks like share updates and or just follow up, you know, via DMs saying they got meetings, or they're like now moving closer to funding with someone that they connected with in this room. And I will say another thing is, sometimes it's not the moderators, it's other people in the room who are connecting with each other because they're interested in the space and want to either work together or talk about an investment. So there's a lot of serendipity that happens in this room, and it's just been really fun to see it.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. And Volker, did we already lose you, Volker?
I don't.
Oh, there.
No. I don't really dare saying anything because Hillary will come out and will now declare that she, I don't know, solved cold fusion for us as well.
Right.
This is why
I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this, Paulina. I hope I didn't speak too much and suppressed you. I do apologize. But I had fun today. This was good. Thank you, folks.
Yeah, thank you, Volker, and I hope you'll come.
I think Angel might have muted herself.
Yeah, I think I did. Here we go. And Hillary, I forgot your mic drop story, so I'm glad you shared it. Any closing remarks?
No, I just want to say thank you, Angel, Paulina, Shauna. You guys do such a great job giving to the community here on Clubhouse and answering honestly, you know, without sort of, I would say, without self-interested, you know, no clouded things in mind here. I really appreciate sort of the transparency and honesty and approaching the questions at all angles and inviting people in to help kind of facilitate the different perspectives. And so I'm just really grateful for you holding this space so consistently and always showing up and always being willing to answer questions. And I know I'm a gabber. I tend to talk a lot. So sorry, Paulina, also if I was talking too much. I really appreciate all three of you for consistently showing up in this room.
Thank you. Yeah, Paulina, you know, I feel like you're going to regret saying that because tomorrow I'm going to have you on the hook the whole time.
Shit, I should have shut my mouth.
Cool. Yeah. And I guess for me, I just want to, you know, to share with all of you that are here, just my gratitude for you, because I think, you know, all of your questions make all of us think. And, you know, and sometimes when I'm in, you know, in these calls, I'm like staring at my phone and I'm looking at the person's profile who's talking, and then I'm getting into their socials because I really want to understand where they're coming from and where they're trying to get to, so that we can tailor the feedback and the advice as much as possible to be as helpful as possible, to be as actionable as possible. So do feel free to reach out to me in advance of any of these calls with questions or themes or topics that, you know, that you think that we should address in the room. And I'm happy to kind of kick those off straight off the bat before we even, you know, go into the Q&A. So you can, you know, reach me. You can, you know, tweet at me. I've got my Instagram in there. I've got an email for Clubhouse specifically. And we'll do our best to just, you know, tackle as much as we can and to provide the access to the information, feedback, opinions, resources. And, you know, as Shauna mentioned, you know, not all investors approach investing the same way. So I think, our intention here is to give you a canvas of perspectives that, ultimately you as a founder, your startup is your baby. So you've got to take the call that you think, resonates or makes the most sense for you. But, along the way, if you feel like you got your, questions answered today, I encourage you to come back, because somebody will, ask a question that you hadn't thought about asking, or somebody will share a name or a resource that, that are going to be hugely, valuable. And like someone already mentioned, there are other people in this room that could be, your biggest backers or collaborators. So I encourage you to come back Monday to Friday at noon Pacific, 8 p.m. UK. On Thursday, we are not going to be here because we're doing a special session around personal branding for entrepreneurs and for investors, so you can more easily pitch that pitch. And that's in the Angel Club, and the details are in my profile. But I thank you all for coming in today, and I hope to see all of you, or at least some of you, back tomorrow at noon Pacific. And I'll leave this room open for another couple minutes so that you can screenshot and or connect with the moderators or other people within the room. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Top job as always.
Thanks, Marco. And did you get to say your closing remarks? I was going in and out.
No.
You didn't?
It's fine. No, it's
Oh,
fine.
man.
It's
Because
fine.
I was going in and out of connection. Please.
No. I'll save it for another day. It's fine. It was all said, so it was great.
Okay. But now we're all wanting more from you.
all
It's
I
always
was going
good.
to say,
Go ahead.
I know. All I was going to say was, and it echoes your point. I think for me, it's people in the room are obviously looking for answers or guidance, and when I hear some of the responses, both from people in the room and you as mods, do you know what? Every day I come away from this thinking, I've crafted or I've refined my own practice just a little bit more. So that I find invaluable. I think the value's both in the room and to the mods as well. So I think that's what you were saying, Angel. So I totally agree.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this room is really for all of us to level up our own game and to get new perspectives that will help us, improve either the performance of our portfolio as investors. There are some things that are raised in here, and I kind of go back to, to the founders in my portfolio, and I'm like, hey, we had this discussion, and you should really think about, or you should connect with X, like I'm going to do today on a couple of people that came up. And so yeah, I think that that value it's a virtuous circle.
It
It's
is.
give and take, right? Yeah.
It is. And I've got a big question for all of you, actually. So, do you think the fact that I did close protection security for Oasis is as good as Hillary's resume?
Probably not. She's got Madonna and she's got
Yeah.
quite a few.
Yeah,
So
but
that's
I was
going to be
thinking
a
that.
tough one.
okay. But security for Oasis, that's got to be the toughest job on the planet, at least during their heyday.
do you want? So here's a funny story. So I was with so one of the evenings I was with Liam Gallagher in the hotel, and he said to me, Marco, I'm on the wagon. And then about, I don't know, this was about 9 o'clock in the evening, and about 4 o'clock in the morning, and I don't know how many he drank, 30 Jack Daniels. I just looked at him and I said, I thought you said you were on the wagon. He goes, Marco, I am.
I love that. One they were neighbors of mine in Primrose Hill, and there was, what's that bar? I can't even remember the pub that's right on the corner at the bottom. Do you know which one I'm talking about, Volker or Paulina, Marco? It's like it's yellow. It's right at the bottom of Primrose Hill.
Oh gosh, I think I know which one
Yeah.
you mean, but the name escapes me.
Yeah. God, I cannot
Not the
remember
engineer,
it.
is it?
So
The engineer? No.
No. That's on the other side. That's Camden side.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's right at the bottom of the hill. anyway, so so I just went in for a pint, and it was summer, and it's a pretty popular place, and so most of the tables were filled, and Liam was there. I don't remember who he was. I don't even know if I knew who he was with, but he was with a couple of other guys. And anyway, and so somebody else in the pub had an acoustic guitar with them, and so they went over and handed it to him, and like just with like a knowing glance, like there was like no words exchanged. And so then he grabbed it, and then the whole pub broke out in Wonderwall. So he like played it on the guitar, and we all sang Wonderwall in this pub. It was like, what was that Tom Cruise film? Magnolia?
Steel Magnolia.
No, not Steel Magnolia. Oh my God. No, that one where like they would just like kind of like a musical, they would break out in song. Anyway, it was just a super cool experience because he was just sitting there. The guy brings him over, this guitar. And I mean, that's like kind of ballsy, right? Because like, he was having like, he was, there drinking with his friends. Like he doesn't necessarily want to perform, right? But yeah, then he started to,
Yeah, it happens to them all the time. It's really,
yeah.
really kind of interesting. Yeah, so I mean, I was running events for these guys on the road. Essentially, my cousin started the fan package concept way back in the early days. I worked from when I was a teenager, and it was like the 90s. We were doing fan packages. Eventually, his company went under, but I got kind of hired from the rubble by the music managers to help bring that into Hollywood. And then Hollywood started doing these like upcharge tickets with, selling fan packages. But at any rate, became like an event coordinator for these bands. And so it was running like 7 parties a night for the Stones on the road for a year and a half. It was just absolute insanity. Some of which the band would show up to, and some of which they wouldn't. But the real fun part was back in the day when we did these fan packages, and they actually included meet and greets and sound checks, exclusive sound checks and backstage tours. I'd be like bringing 75 people backstage by myself. Speaking of security, Marco, we could have used you right about then, taking the fans through the back stage to show them all including the dressing room areas. It was insane what came with that, with those packages. Now you get a commemorative laminate and maybe some catering, some tempura shrimp or something. But it's changed a lot. But anyway, yeah, those are stories. There are many stories that if I shared, there might be some issues with the fact that I'm barred by the state of California.
So it's actually we come full circle here, because I was just racking my brain what my music credentials are, and I have a signed contract where I sign on one side and Britney Spears on the other. And there was a startup that did a mobile music fan club in 2001. Just imagine that. So in other words, where phones could barely text. And I said full circle because I think, Angel, that's how we met when you were at MTV.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I used
to
do all the VP talent management and all that. And yeah.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So we did, Britney and Snoop Dogg and Moby and whatever, Linkin Park, I think, and a few others. Fun time.
Yeah.
God,
it was.
We should start a completely different room here, Angel.
Yeah. I was thinking of doing an after hours thing.
Yeah, Angels and VCs after hours. Yeah, that would be the one.
Yeah,
exactly. Investors and the weird thing they did before.
Yeah, exactly. Before we got
what
serious.
stays in the after hour, what happens in the after hours room stays in the after hours room.
Yeah, that might have to be one of the private rooms. Cool. All right. Well, lots of fun. Again, thank you so much, you guys. Thank you, everyone, for coming. And we hope to see you back tomorrow at noon Pacific, 8 p.m. UK time. Have a good one. Hope you have a great day, great night.
Super. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks
everyone. Bye, everybody.
Take care. Stay safe.